Hi. So in this video, we're going to be working with congruent triangles, stating why and how we can tell that a triangle is congruent to another triangle. So in this case, there's a couple of postulates and theorem that we're going to be using. The first one is the side postulate. And this one states that if the three sides of one triangle are congruent to the three sides of another triangle, then the triangle are congruent. My next one is the side angle side. The side angle side postulate, right? If two sides and the included angle of one triangle are congruent to two sides and the included angle of another triangle, then two triangles are congruent. So what's the included angle, right? So AC and CB, this angle C is the included angle. It's the one that is formed between those two sides, right? The next postulate is the angle side angle postulate. If two angles and the included side of a triangle is congruent to two angles and the included side of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. Again, as you can see here, my included side is the side that is part of those two angles, is the side of those angles, right? So angle B, angle C over here is BC is that included side. Same EF, so EF is the included side. Okay, and the last one that we're gonna, well, that's the last one, right? Angle side theorem. In this case, if two angles and a non-included side, in this case, it's telling you that it's a non-included side of one triangles are congruent to two angles and the corresponding side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. And I want to check one more. Okay, so a right triangle. As we remember, a right triangle is a triangle with one right angle, and that one has two legs that are the sides that form that right angle, and a hypotenuse that is the opposite side of that right triangle. Right? So on right triangles, I can use another theorem that is called hypotenuse leg, that says that if the hypotenuse and a leg of one right triangle are congruent to the hypotenuse and the leg of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So let's say this information that you should find out. Right? Okay, so in this case, I want to determine if the two triangles are congruent. If they are, state how do you know, right? So in this case, it's telling me that this angle is congruent to that one. This side is congruent to that one. So I'm missing maybe one angle or one more side. There's no way of proving that the other two sides are congruent, but I can say that this angle is congruent to that one because they are vertical angles. So now I'm going to go in order. So I have angle, side angle, and that's one of them. Side angle. So they are congruent, right? We can prove that they're congruent. The next one, again, I just have one side and one angle, so I need at least one angle or one more side. It's not enough information to prove that the sides are congruent, but I can prove again that those angles are congruent right there because they are vertical angles. So that means that by order, right? Angle, angle, side. So by angle, angle, side, those two triangles are congruent. Right? On number 3, again, the same thing. I can prove that those two angles are congruent. So this is by angle, angle, side. So by angle, angle, side. Okay, so number 4. I do have enough information right there because I have two sides and the included angle. So this is by side, angle, side. On number 5, so you can see I have a right angle because if that one is right, that one is right. So those are right triangles, right? So on this one, I have one more that I can use, right? I have hypotenuse, right? Because it's the opposite side of the right triangle, of the right angle, right? And I know that this side, they share this side, both of them, so it's congruent for both of them. So that means that I can prove this one by hypotenuse leg. Okay, so number 6, again, I can prove that this angle, the side is congruent on both of them, right? So by side, angle, side, by side, angle, side, I know that those two triangles are congruent to each other. Number 7. So number 7, I have those two angles congruent, but I don't have any other side other than this one that is congruent for both triangles, but I don't have any way to prove that any other side are congruent, and I cannot prove that any other angles are congruent. So in this case, we cannot say it's not congruent, but we don't have not enough information to prove that they are congruent or to prove that they are not congruent. So that's why we just say it's not enough information. Okay. The next one, number 8, as you can see, all the sides are congruent. So those two triangles are congruent by side, side, side. Okay, so state what additional information is required in order to know that the triangles are congruent for the reason given. So I want to know, how can I prove that? This is by hypotenuse leg. So I know that it's a right triangle. I have a leg right there. So I need to prove that the hypotenuse are congruent. So I need to C be congruent to TU. Okay. And the last one is telling me by side, side, side. So that means that GE has to be congruent to IK. So GE has to be congruent to IK. Okay, so the last part says determine whether the triangles must be congruent. If so, name the postulate or theorem that justify your answer. And I want to add that if we want to write the congruences if they're congruent, right? So in this case, again, I know that side MO is congruent to MO, right? Because it's the same side, right? So these two triangles are congruent, as you can see by angle, side, angle. So angle, angle, side, angle. And I want to write that congruency. So again, my first triangle, POM, I'm going to write it as the order that I want, is congruent to triangle, right? So P is corresponding with N. O is corresponding with O, and in this case, M is corresponding with M. Now, my next one. These two arrows mean that those two sides are parallel to each other. So I know that this angle is congruent to that angle. And actually, right, I cannot say that the other two angles, I cannot say that this angle is congruent to that one, right? Because I don't know if UT is parallel to SR, right? And again, I know that this side is congruent to the same side. So again, by angle, side, angle, I can prove that those two triangles are congruent. So triangle UST is congruent to triangle RTS, right? As you can see, this angle S right here is corresponding with that angle T, and this angle S of the right triangle, of the triangle at the right, is corresponding with this angle on the left. And that's it. May the force be with you.